This past election was an absolute thriller. The country has never seen anything quite like it, as more than 80 hours after the election, no winner was announced. President Donald Trump and his Democratic adversary Joe Biden were neck and neck through it all, and in some states they were only a few hundred votes apart. Conspiracy theories began to swirl around the country, and we saw more protests forming. This election has brought a great deal of controversy, and Trump has already demanded several recounts and filed a handful of lawsuits. But on Saturday, November the 7th, the smoke cleared just a bit, and it became clear that Joe Biden will serve as the 46th president of the United States. So who is this Joe Biden guy? He's about to be the commander-in-chief and subsequently among the most powerful people on earth. So in this video, we're going to tell you everything you need to know about him, including some little-known truths. We'll also lay out what we can really expect from Biden in the next 4 years. So for all this and more, stay tuned right here at Wonderlane. How do you feel about the future with Biden at the helm? Be sure to let us know in the comments. Let's start at the very beginning. Joseph Robinette Biden was born on November 20th, 1942 in the small town of Scranton, Pennsylvania. His father was in a difficult financial situation, so Joe, along with his parents and 3 siblings, lived at his grandparents' house. When he was 10 years old, his father found a job in Claymont, and for Joe Biden, this was the beginning of a difficult phase of life. He was always one of the smallest kids in high school, and he also had issues with stuttering. He was bullied and harassed by his classmates regularly. In response, he would learn long poems by heart and recite them to himself over and over again in front of the mirror. In doing this, he was able to gradually get control of his stutter. After high school, Biden attended Archmere Academy, where he played wideout on the football team. He went on to study history and political science at the University of Delaware, and although he was still interested in sports, parties, and girls, he became increasingly fascinated by politics. He saw John F. Kennedy in particular as a great role model. At the age of 22, Joe Biden met his future wife, Nelia Hunter, and Biden studied law, going on to find some success as a lawyer. At the age of 26, he founded his own firm, and it was also around this time that he and his wife had 3 children, 2 sons and a daughter. Biden became a member of the Newcastle County City Council at the age of 27, and thus began his political career. At 29, his colleagues encouraged him to run for senator in Delaware, and thus enter the big leagues, so to speak. But Biden had some reservations. He had hardly any money, and as a Democrat, he was a complete underdog. Regardless, he pulled it off. With a cushion of almost 3,000 votes, he won the election and became the 5th youngest elected senator in the history of the United States. However, tragedy struck soon after. His wife Nelia and his 3 children got into a very serious car accident on the way to pick out a Christmas tree. And this accident claimed the lives of Nelia and their 1-year-old daughter, and the 3 boys were seriously injured. Biden describes this time as the darkest hour of his life. He wrestled with suicidal thoughts, but knew that he had to stick around for his sons. In order to spend as much time as possible with the boys, he took on a commute of several hours to and from work on a daily basis. A few years later, he met his second wife, with whom he had another daughter, and whom he says gave him the will to pick up where he left off after the death of his first wife and first daughter. Over the next several years, he became very involved in Congress and became one of the most consistent senators in the United States. He chaired numerous committees, worked on crucial legislation, and met a handful of presidents too, from Gerald Ford to Jimmy Carter, Ronald Reagan, and George Bush. He also became a key advisor to Bill Clinton. His 36 years of experience in the Senate secured him the position of Barack Obama's vice president in 2008, an office which made him a household name. Then, in 2017, near the end of his term as vice president, he was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom with special commendation by President Obama, an award last given to Pope John Paul II. Now, almost 4 years later, it's looking like Biden is headed back to the White House. Joe Biden's life boasts a long political career, but it has also been filled with heartache and tragedy. 5 years ago, his oldest son, Beau, was killed by a brain tumor at only 46 years of age. These strokes of fate are what define Joe Biden as a person today. He knows a thing or two about loss, and therefore he knows just how important it is to bring about peace and unity. Moreover, these extremely dark life experiences are reflected in his political style. He is not an aggressive politician, but rather a calm, mild, and level-headed statesman. So we've explored who he is, but the question remains, what exactly will Biden do? And what exactly will he change? Is he the man for the job? One thing that we're fairly certain of is that Biden will drive a much different climate policy. He will immediately return to the Paris Climate Agreement, and he wants to make the energy sector emission-free by 2035. He's also announced that he plans to penalize countries that produce an abundance of CO2 emissions with taxes on imports, and he plans to invest nearly $2 trillion into renewable energy. Joe Biden will be taking on the task of bringing unity to a country that hasn't been this divided since its civil war in the 1860s. He will seek to give financial aid to minorities, increase the minimum wage, and expand public health insurance. In addition, Biden has a program in the works that will encourage individual states to decriminalize cannabis and abolish the death penalty. He wants higher education to become free for children from families with a low household income. Of course, one of his main challenges will be the current health crisis, with which he wants to tackle primarily through targeted testing. Biden announced that on his first day in the Oval Office, he will first call all of the heads of major nations to tell them that the United States was now back. Because according to Biden, an important part of this presidency will be to reverse some of Trump's decisions and policies. Biden's presidency could have a very negative impact on the economy. Many believe that his tax policies and other actions could cause the Trump-era economic boom to reverse itself completely, curbing economic growth in the US and also around the world. Biden will obviously be taking a more liberal, democratic, and socially conscious approach than Trump did. It is important to mention that although Biden won the presidential election, many votes in Congress and the Senate still went to the Republicans, making rapid change very unlikely. One thing, however, is clear. The challenges we're currently facing as a world population can only be overcome by working together. That is why it is more important than ever that we work together to tackle this pandemic, that we all work together to limit the damage of climate change, and that we all have the courage to pull together as a society in order to overcome issues like racial inequality and discrimination. That's going to do it for our video on the ins and outs of Joe Biden. So how are you feeling about the future? Will there be change? Will there be unity? Feel free to drop a comment and let us know what you think. And if you enjoyed this video, leave a like and subscribe to Wonderlane for more videos like this every week.